Should the Philadelphia 76ers bring back Nic Batum? We're talking about that on today's edition of 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Thanks for hanging out here with us. Batum, an NBA free agency, signing a 2-year, $9.5 million contract with the Los Angeles Clippers. And Bleacher Report put together an article looking at trade targets for all 30 teams across the NBA. And they listed Batum as a potential trade target for Philadelphia. Of note, this wouldn't be able to happen until the NBA trade deadline, but it's interesting nonetheless. And according to an NBA insider, Batum was close to returning to Philadelphia. Before we dive into all of this, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We just launched a new account. You can find us on IG at 76ers Now IG. We're going to put up daily posts and updates, short-form content in addition to the long-form content that you see on this show, and you can interact with fellow Sixers fans. So give us a follow over there, as you can see down below, and right here at 76ers Now IG. So let's talk about this Nic Batum trade idea, trade possibility. Bleacher Report suggesting that Batum could be a trade target for Daryl Morey and company to help out the Sixers' wing depth and, of course, help out Philadelphia in that front court with the lack of size. Here's what BR had to say about this. The Sixers had more financial flexibility this summer than any team, filling out the roster with what appeared to be diligent choices, barring injuries or something else going askew. The franchise may not be active in the trade market. It's difficult to say who they'd target, but the 76ers may miss Nic Batum, an important playoff contributor. The Clippers may not want KJ Martin back. They originally sent him to Philadelphia, but Batum would help round out the Sixers' forward rotation. And once he came to Philadelphia and he realized he didn't want to retire, and I think that he's happy that he didn't because he played awesome basketball for the Sixers, played in high-leverage playoff moments, won the game for Philadelphia in that play-in game against the Miami Heat. He ended up being such an underrated player for Philadelphia on both ends of the floor and a really good compliment next to Joel Embiid. In the regular season, in the playoffs, it's not like his numbers were insane, right? But he was highly productive, and it's like he just made plays at the most opportune of times, right? In the regular season, 5.5 points, 4+ rebounds. He shot 45.5% from the floor, nearly 40% from three. And then in the playoffs, points per game went up, rebounds went up. The field goal numbers still very, very efficient. And the three-point numbers, nearly 41%. It's unfortunate that Philadelphia couldn't advance to that second round because I thought Batum was such a great shining star for this basketball team. And his impact goes far beyond the numbers. Given all of the international games that he's played for Team France, the fact that he's been in the NBA for so long, he's so seasoned, he's so smart, he makes plays on the ball, off the ball, on both ends of the floor, and he's such a valuable member of any basketball team because he has such a great feel and a knack for making championship-level plays. And what I thought that he brought to the table for the Sixers, a quick trigger from three. He was an underrated passer, too, something that I didn't just mention, a veteran presence, a smart defender, and he's willing to play really any role that he has to. And, of course, you can't forget the Miami play-in game. So clutch, 3 after 3, big bucket after big bucket, dropped 20 points against the Heat, 17 of which came in that second half when Philadelphia was down. They needed somebody to show up. He added 5 rebounds and then the game-sealing block to put the cherry on top of the ice cream. Does that make sense? Close enough. But for me, he left the Sixers in free agency, the cherry on top. Would he even want to come back to Philadelphia? I think this just came down to Philadelphia not really being willing to give him that contract. And we knew that him and his wife really like being out in Los Angeles, and he goes to a team with some familiarity. If the Sixers can bring him back, though, and the Clippers stink, would he be open to that? So that's, of course, a part of this conversation, too. According to ESPN's Tim Bontemps, Batum was close to returning to Philadelphia. I don't know if it was because he didn't want to. Again, I think it was because the Sixers didn't have the cash flow to pay him. And maybe Batum wanted a decision, but Philadelphia couldn't make a decision because all of the money that they had doled out during this offseason. A lot more to get to here on the show, but first, let's give a shout out to Game Time, our presenting sponsor for today's 76ers Now. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. This is the best ticketing app in the industry. Prices drop as the event gets closer, and you're guaranteed to get the lowest price. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You got to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. And with Game Time's picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sporting events. But it's not just an app to go to games. If you want to go to a concert, I love music. You want to go to a comedy show, I hit those pretty frequently because I love laughing with the homies. Or you want to go to a show, a theater event. Game Time has tickets spanning all types of different categories. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And for the Sixers fans out there, if you want to go to a Philadelphia Eagles game, a Philadelphia Phillies game, you can do that as well. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, download the app, and when you create an account and you use the code CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create that account, redeem the code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. So Nicholas Batum was close to returning to Philadelphia, according to ESPN's Tim Bontemps. Here's what he had to say about that. They were really close to getting Nic Batum back. He was going back and forth between, at least my understanding, between Philadelphia or going back to the team that traded him and the Clippers. And I think family played a part in him going back to the Clippers. He was pretty comfortable out in LA. And there was a lot of chatter because Batum didn't originally join the Sixers, that his wife didn't want to go to Philadelphia. And because of that, he was thinking about maybe retiring. He ended up playing, and it ended up being a great decision for Philadelphia. As for the decision on whether or not the Sixers should trade for Nicholas Batum, let's further dive in right now. Should the Philadelphia 76ers trade for Nic Batum as you look ahead to the NBA trade deadline? What's one thing we continue to talk about that is bereft on this Sixers roster? They are lacking wing depth, and they are lacking front court size. Nic Batum would be able to bring Philadelphia that. Now, he signed a decent contract with the Los Angeles Clippers this offseason, about $4.5 million per year. I don't think at the time Philadelphia was willing to pay him that. I also think Batum was comfortable out in Los Angeles, and he elected to go back to a team in which he had familiarity with. When it comes to the overall basketball fit, I loved what Nic Batum brought to this team last year, a floor spacer who could knock the three down. He was able to protect the rim. He was a really good fit alongside Joel Embiid. And with all that international experience playing with Team France and all of the high-level playoff experience he has at the NBA level, he's such a smart and heady player who's also a really good distributor of the basketball. And he had a huge role for this team throughout the NBA playoffs. So if it comes down to this and the Sixers need some size and an addition, as you look ahead to the deadline, I would certainly entertain this. So with that, Chip, you're running basketball ops for Philadelphia. You're in the shoes of Daryl Morey. What would you do?
Yeah, I think if I'm sitting there at the deadline, still have an open roster spot, and I'm Daryl Morey, I would take a long look at Nic Batum if the Clippers especially are not performing up to their expectations with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Maybe, some injuries are going on and they're not really winning games. I'd at least inquire about it because you look at the 76ers forwards and their front court right now, obviously you have Paul George. Caleb Martin is really mostly a floor spacer and will be a hard-nosed defender as well. Off the bench, you're going to have Yabusele. What is he going to be able to bring to you return to the NBA? That's still a bit of an uncertain. Ricky Council, KJ Martin, they're both young players. How much can you get from them? You can really use a veteran like Batum who can just do anything you need at any given time. And those type of players are so important for championship contenders. And we saw that firsthand last year with the amount of winning plays he would make. Anytime Nick Nurse needed him to do something, he would do it. He was always making the right pass, which is so underrated because being able to get the ball into Joel Embiid when he's in the post, or getting that nice swing pass along the perimeter, like those types of things he does without even thinking about it. It's just instinct to him, right? And because he's been playing for so long, he's seen every situation that there really can be. He can still shoot the ball. Obviously, he's not, quite the defender he used to be, but he still is a smart defender because, again, he's been playing for so long that even as his physical tools start to dip, he still has the mental side of the game at a very, very high level. So
Yep.
I don't think it'd take much either to go get him from the Clippers if they're willing to move off of him. And if he is willing to leave LA, of course, that's going to be a thing. Maybe he just wants to spend the last couple of years of his career in LA with family where he's comfortable, and that's totally fine. It's totally understandable. But if he's open to being on the move, the Clippers are willing to move him for maybe a second-round pick and some salary or something, I would love Batum back on this team. And so would Joel Embiid, I can tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Joel Embiid really liked playing alongside him. And keep this in mind, right? If the Clippers are a dumpster fire, they could be in sell mode where trading a player away like Nic Batum might make some sense. So what say you? Should the Sixers bring him back? T for trade, P for pass. We're in the heart of the offseason, but we're still bringing you some great content here on the show.